Hello and welcome back to Evidence Mastery. Today, we're diving into a really exciting chapter from Dr. Massoud Tossi's fantastic guide, Real-World Evidence, Principles and Practice. We're going to be exploring Chapter 15, all about the future of RWE. And believe me, it's a future that is reshaping healthcare as we speak. So let's get right into it. You know, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? What used to be, a secondary source of information, kind of on the side, is now moving right to the center stage of how we understand health and treatment. This isn't just a small adjustment, it's a complete transformation. So the big question is, what's next? All right, here's our game plan. First up, we'll talk about how RWE's role is changing in a really fundamental way. Then we're going to jump into the AI-powered frontier, which is just fascinating. After that, we'll see how evidence is literally being embedded into patient care. We'll meet the new kind of RWE professional making it all happen. And finally, we'll look at what we need to do to actually build this future. So our first stop is this huge shift in thinking. We're moving away from generating evidence in these isolated one-off studies, what the book calls episodic, and we're moving towards a world where creating evidence is a continuous, totally integrated part of healthcare itself. So what does that actually look like? Well, it means that pretty much every time a clinical decision is made, the system learns from it. Instead of a study having a distinct start and finish line, gathering evidence becomes this always-on function, constantly fine-tuning our understanding and improving patient outcomes in almost real time. Now, you can probably guess one of the biggest things driving this change. Yep, it's artificial intelligence. And we're not just talking about simple automation here, not at all. We are talking about AI that actively boosts and augments the way we do science. And I love this slide because the contrast is so clear. Early AI was a massive help with the grunt work. Think of it like a super fast, super efficient assistant. But frontier AI, that's a whole different league. It's a collaborator. It can sift through millions of patient records and suggest brand new hypotheses. It can help correct for tricky biases, and it can even predict which patients will benefit the most from a certain treatment. It's a real game changer. And this isn't just some far-off theory. This is happening right now today. As you can see here, from using natural language processing, or NLP, to scan clinical notes for rare side effects in the US, to using complex methods like causal forests in the UK to understand treatment effectiveness, AI is already powering RWE studies all across the globe. Of course, with all this power comes a ton of responsibility. Many advanced AI models can be like black boxes. We know they work, but figuring out how they work can be tough. And that's exactly why frameworks like the FDA's Good Machine Learning Practice are so crucial. They're being built to make sure these incredible tools are used transparently, responsibly, and ethically. Okay, so while AI is supercharging the analysis, our next frontier is all about changing how the data is generated to begin with. We're seeing the rise of what are called real-world trials, which are designed to work seamlessly right inside the normal flow of healthcare. A really key development here is the embedded pragmatic clinical trial, or EPCT. This is where the research literally becomes part of the care. The trial treatment is given by the patient's own doctor, and the randomization might happen automatically from an alert inside their electronic health record. It just blurs the line between research and practice in the best way possible. And the adaptable trial is just a phenomenal example of this in action. It answered a really important question about aspirin dosage by enrolling over 15,000 people. And it didn't do this with a bunch of expensive research centers. It used a decentralized model with electronic consent and existing health data. It proved that huge, efficient, and powerful trials are absolutely possible. So, if we can run individual trials like that, what's the end game? What happens when we connect everything together into one smart, cohesive system? Well, the answer is what we call a learning health system, and it's built on these three pillars. First, you need these interoperable data fabrics that seamlessly connect all our different data sources. Second, you have analytic pipelines that automatically run studies in near real time. And third, you need ways to get that fresh evidence right back to doctors and patients through things like dynamic guidelines and dashboards. So we've got the AI, we've got the new trial designs, but who actually makes all this work? This brings us to the evolution of the RWE professional. It's not just about being a tech wizard anymore. It's about blending deep science with the practical realities of healthcare. As you can see here, a modern RWE team is a multidisciplinary powerhouse. You need the epidemiologist for the solid study design, the medical informatician to handle all that messy data, the biostatistician for the rigorous methods, and the data scientist to pull it all together. It's truly a team sport. And just look at how dramatically the job itself is changing. In just a decade, the work is shifting from simply defining a patient group to designing adaptive, living protocols. It's moving from just pulling data to operating these complex privacy-preserving analyses, and from just submitting results to actually co-developing studies with regulators. That is a massive shift. Okay, so we have this really clear, exciting vision for the future. But how do we actually get there? What are the key things we need to put in place to make this a reality for everyone? Well, it takes a lot more than just cool technology. As the book lays out so well, we need 5 key enablers. We need smart data governance that balances access and privacy. We need harmonized standards so data can talk the same language everywhere. We need ongoing workforce development and aligned incentives so people are rewarded for generating evidence. And finally, and this one is absolutely critical, we need to empower patients and give them a real agency over their own data. And that really brings us to this final, powerful idea. The future of evidence isn't going to be built in some isolated lab or corporate boardroom. It's going to be co-created by everyone involved in healthcare, from the clinicians and patients to entire communities, all working together for a healthier and more equitable future. What we covered today was just a glimpse into the incredible future of real-world evidence. For a really deep dive into all the principles and practices we talked about, you can find the full guide, Real-World Evidence, Principles and Practice on Amazon.com. Thanks so much for joining us on Evidence Mastery.